I don't want to be upset on the call. I'm sorry. They broke my mind, they broke me. They broke my body and they tortured me so bad.
Welcome back to Bizarre Bazaar for part 3 of Marshall's story. In this episode, Marshall tells us about the time he hijacked a plane and lived through a real-life Con Air. But first, I want to address the government conspiracy that he talks about. Some people think he's deluded, but I think he might have a point. Before we start, if you want to write to inmates like I do, then use the service I use. It's called Gmail. It's fast and it's secure, and it means you don't have to use your home address. That's the main reason why I like it. I get physical letters sent to my house, but I don't send the inmates my home address. I'll leave a link to their services in the description below. Just go check out the website. If you're sentenced to 99 years in prison, can you explain how you're wrongly incarcerated?
Initially, what happened was I was charged in Dallas, Texas. And when I was originally sentenced in 1984, I was sentenced to life. The judge did not follow the law in that instance, and he could only give me a sentence between 5 and 99 years. So the appeals court took the life sentence off, and I was sent back for resentencing. At that point, the judge gave me 99 years on count 1, 10 years on count 2, and 10 years on count 3. Later on, in 1987, the United States Congress amended the Sentencing Act, and my sentence was reduced to 10 years total, and I was ordered to be released on parole. Now, it's important to understand that the sentence length itself is different than the sentence custody, okay? A person can have any number of years, and they could be confined in their home, or they could be confined at a halfway house, or they could be confined at a low-level prison or a maximum security prison. In my case, I want to clarify that the sentence custody was ameliorated to 10 years, not the sentence length, okay? So yes, for your understanding, when you look at it as a civilian, you go, oh, this guy's got a 99-year sentence, okay? But the truth is, the United States Congress ameliorated the sentence custody, and I was supposed to be released February the 2nd, 1994. That was my out date. Now, I would have still been serving the sentence, but it would have been on house arrest, so to speak.
Why did they amend it?
They not only changed my sentence, they changed the entire structure of the law for all federal offenders. So those two offender groups became two categories: pre-1987 offenders and people who committed their offenses after 1987. This was done because the Parole Commission was engaged in all types of illegal activities, and the United States Congress investigated them under and made a report called Senate Report 98-225. And this report details all the corruption that the Parole Commission was involved in, playing favoritism, abuse of discretion, receiving political favors, all types of diabolical things that they were doing is listed in this report, including misuse of the funds that were available for supervising inmates. So the Congress decided to change the law and take away the discretion of the Parole Commission. And when they did this, they made the new law mandatory releases for people who had offenses after 1987. Then in fairness, they said, well, we have to give these people who are still in prison before 1987, we have to give them a release. So Congress passed Section 235B3 and mandated that all these prior 1987 offenders, their sentence custody would be ameliorated. What that means is they would still have their same sentence length, but they would serve that on supervised release out of prison.
This call is from a federal prison.
So each one of their respective sentences was reduced so that they would be within the mandatory parole guideline range. So one person, if he had a bank robbery charge, he would be released in 5 years. If a guy had a car theft charge, he would be released in 2 years. It was supposed to be fair for everyone based on their individual circumstances of their case.
So it's kind of like a set charge based on the offence.
Like a set charge, right. Okay. Then what happens is you go to the parole commission, and then the parole commission looks at your prior history, and then they set a release date for you within a certain guideline range. Say for car theft, they would set it from 6 months to 18 months. That would be your parole guideline range, okay? What was happening was they were playing political favoritisms, and if the congressman or somebody would call, or a judge or somebody's cousin would call, no matter if the guy had stole 50 cars, he would get out in 6 months. But a guy who had only stole one car, if he didn't have anybody to help him, he would have to do the entire 18 months, unless he paid.
So after looking at more details, which can be found on this website, I've linked the address in the description by the way, I've come to the conclusion that there is a legal grey area. I believe legally, Marshall and many others, like he states, should be released by law. But this would mean releasing spies, murderers and many more people that the government don't want on the streets. We can debate all day about Marshall killing a man, so should he ever be released? But in the eyes of the law, technically, he should have been released in '94. It's crazy, but he does have a leg to stand on. Like I said, read more on the website. Okay, so now I asked him about the hijacking. Can you tell us about the hijacking and how did it start?
Yes, sir. What basically happened was, so the Bureau of Prisons decided that I was a troublemaker, and they have prisons scattered all across the United States. So they transferred me to a prison in Oklahoma City called the Federal Transfer Center, and they put me in for a transfer to a special management unit. This special management unit that goes by the initials SMU, there people are like brainwashed by the American government. They're put under very strict conditions, treated very harshly. It's a very regimented, you have to get up at a certain time, you have to make your beds, and you have to work out, you have to go out at a certain time, you have to eat at a certain time. It's a very regimented lifestyle, and if you break any rules, they spray you with gas, torture you, chain you to the bed, and also a special management unit. And so they decided to send me there to teach me a lesson. They thought this would stop me from fighting for all my legal issues and for truth and justice and freedom, which it wasn't going to stop me, because I thought that I was doing the right thing. I thought all evening, how could I possibly hijack an airplane when I'm chained leg and waist with handcuffs on? And I thought to myself, well, my goodness, I'll make a fake bomb, or if I can't even make one, I'll just claim that I have one. So a few days went by, and I wrote a note to the pilot that I was in possession of a bomb that I had made, and I hid the note in my waistband and was taken down the next morning to get on the airplane. Of course, before you get on these high security flights, they shake you down fairly intensely, and I was allowed to get on the flight, and we took off, flying across the country. As soon as we took off, I called the U.S. Marshal over to him, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, are you the U.S. Air Marshal for this flight?" He said, "Yes, I am." And I had already taken the note out, and I had it unfolded, and I had taken my shoe off, and I put my shoe underneath my shirt, so there was quite a bulge. And I told the fellow straight in his eye, "This is a bomb. It's got an aluminum foil trigger. Don't do anything stupid, or I'll blow this plane up." He looked at me very intently, and I said, "Here's the note." And I handed him a note that says, "Take this note up to the pilot and tell him I have a bomb. I'm hijacking the airplane. Fly me to Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta." So it was fairly intense. The guy takes the note. He runs up there and tells it to the captain. The captain asked him if he knew if I in fact had a bomb. And he said he didn't know.
This call is from a federal prison.
So the captain said to him, "Under the federal aviation rules and policies, we have to treat this incident as a real incident until we can verify whether or not he has a bomb, in fact." So the pilot called it in and made emergency flight deviation and turned the airplane. When he did, there were other inmates on there, and they all started cheering, "Hey, yay, you got it, man. Look, he turned the flight." And the staff were rather irate that other inmates were cheering for me who were also being transported. And in a little while later, the guy comes back, and he says, "I need to get a visual on that bomb." I just looked dead in his eyes, and I said, "You're not in control of this, bud. I am. I'm the one with the bomb. Don't do anything stupid." I said, "Go back up front and take your seat." And he seemed like startled that I was so aggressive with him. So he turned around and went back up front. And then they came back in about an hour later, 12 of them. He pulled his electric pistol and shined the light right in my forehead with the laser. He said, "I'll shoot you in the face right now with this electric gun." I looked at him. I says, "You're going to shoot me with an electric gun, and I got a bomb here with an aluminum foil trigger on it, and you're going to blow us all up." I said, "Are you stupid? Go back up front and take your seat." Then he looked all crazy and kept the gun in my face for a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Then he put it in the holster, and he said, "I'm going to drag you out of that seat if you don't let me see that bomb right now." So then the other fellow reached and grabbed me and pulled me over a little bit. And I knew it was up by that point because I had 12 officers surrounding me in the airplane. And they got me out of the seat and lifted up my shirt. And the guy says, "Oh, a plastic shoe, huh?" Bang! He hits me in the jaw and knocks me down. The other guy starts punching me in the head. Bang, bang, bang. They started beating the hell out of me, kicking me. All the inmates started screaming, "Hey, get off the old man. What are y'all doing? This is crazy." Blah, blah, blah. They're beating me up. Dragged me to the back of the plane, twisted my arms up, twisted me up, put me in a headlock, and pulled my clothes up. And he said, "Chest clear, back clear, legs clear, ass clear." I was like, "Oh, this is crazy right here." They were just really dogging me out. So then they put me in a chair and took some ropes and
This call is from a federal prison.
they tied me in the chair, and they put one of them plastic masks over my face, and then they put a mosquito net over my head. And they told some other inmates who were decent people, "Keep an eye on this fellow. He's very dangerous." And they all went to the front of the plane, and the guy that was in the back that they told to keep an eye on me, he adjusted my mask so it wasn't pinching me quite so intently. It was actually burrowing into my ear. That plastic sharp from the manufacturer was hurting quite intensely. And the guy lifted my face mask, the other inmate, and he said, "Damn, old man, that was pretty intense right there." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I hope it works and I can make it to court and save us all." And we laughed about it. And when we received to the other airport at Atlanta, they drugged me out of the airplane and drugged me down the stairs and threw me in the middle of the runway in a water puddle. And the guy said, "I'll stomp your teeth out if you say anything else." I was like, damn, I was all handcuffed. I couldn't do anything, so I didn't say nothing else to him about my case, and I needed help. And then they stripped out, brought a van over and put me on the van. They stripped all my clothes butt naked and cut them off with scissors. And the doctor said, are you okay? They brought a doctor, and I said, yes, sir. And he says, he checked me for psychological things. He says, it's quite unusual for a fellow to try to hijack a plane with a shoe. And I said, well, you know, I'm kind of desperate right now, Doc. And we laughed. And he checked my blood sugar level and checked me for drugs and everything. Of course, I have no drug use, no history of drug use, and I don't use any drugs. And we chuckled about the incident, and they put me on another plane and flew me to another airport, and then they transported me on the bus to a special management unit where I was summarily placed in custody and placed in isolation. And then the next day I started receiving my torture, and it's pretty, brings back a lot of memories. It's very intense. I have post-traumatic stress disorder from the way I was treated at that facility. Fortunately, I was placed in paper clothes for a couple of years and held in isolation. And I wasn't allowed to have toilet paper. I wasn't allowed to have toothbrush. I wasn't allowed to have soap. And every day they came and handcuffed me and pushed me against a wall and shook my cell down for contraband and mistreated me most egregiously. I can't remember. I don't want to be upset on the call. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I fought for justice and freedom. I was in the Marine Corps, and I believed in all these things, man, and they broke my mind, you know. They broke me. They broke my body, and they tortured me so bad. I need help, man. Please, I hope the people can hear this, and please try to help me.
Let me know your thoughts about Marshall's story in the comments. That's all we got time for in this episode. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, please drop it a like and subscribe if you're new. Until next time, stay sane.